Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Royals Rundown podcast presented by Royals Review. I'm Jacob Milham. He is Jeremy Greco. Jeremy, it's a Wednesday. It's a winning Wednesday, you might say, thanks to the Kansas City Royals. How we feeling?
I'm feeling. Just went into an Irish accent there for absolutely no reason. I mean, when you get a sweep, even if it's the White Sox, a sweep feels good.
Yeah.
And spoilers, I hate the trade deadline for the Royals.
Ooh, okay. Yeah, listen, we have a jam-packed episode coming up. So we're going to start off talking about the White Sox series that the Royals just finished up. But we got to talk about the trade deadline, what the postseason push is going to look like. And we're going to give you the lowdown on what the remaining Royals schedule looks like. But if you want some more in-depth Kansas City Royals analysis in a written format, go check out Royals Review. That is also a great place where you can join the community, comment on the stories you like, stories you don't like. You can even write your own stories in the fan posts. So you can do all that and more over at royalsreview.com.
And not only did we get our starts doing that, right, Jacob?
Yep.
Like anybody who writes a fan post, there is a very fair chance that Max is going to highlight it on the front page. Like you're not just going to be writing into oblivion. I mean, not every fan post gets up there, but if you write a handful, at least one of them is almost certain to get on the front page.
Exactly. And hey, if you have a take and you present it well, that is an informed take, and that is going to be much better than anything you could put out on Twitter. All right, so as we are recording, it is now 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and it was just about 15 minutes ago where the Royals capped off July with a sweep, a 3-game sweep of the Chicago White Sox. Now, listen, this is, first off, poor Chicago. I mean, this is a franchise record 16-game losing streak for Chicago.
Must be nice to have that be your franchise record.
Yeah, you can't be as bad as the Royals when you're bad, I guess. But there's always tomorrow where they can extend that losing streak.
Yeah.
But this was... Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I'll admit, I was nervous coming into this series because when you get a losing streak that long, like no major league team loses forever. The White Sox are testing that.
They are. They heard that theory and they are putting it to the test. And frankly, after the first 2 games of the series, I was a little nervous because both of those were comeback wins. I get it. The Chicago White Sox have a terrible bullpen, absolutely atrocious. But you can't rely on comeback wins every single night. Thankfully, they put a lot of those concerns to bed with a 10-3 win today where they were leading or it was tied for the entirety of the game, if I recall correctly.
Yep.
And now they are 12-1 against the Chicago White Sox. No more games against the Pale Hose, but they have taken 12 out of 13. Jeremy, before we start looking ahead to the remainder of the season, how do you feel about this 3-game set? What did you like? What didn't you like?
Well, I liked this thing. I don't want to talk about yet because we're going to talk about it in a minute.
Not yet. Yep, not yet.
So I liked Bobby Witt Jr. to Michael Massey leading off, which I think we're also going to talk about later. Unless we want to talk about that now. We want to talk about that later.
No. Well, you know what? No, let's go ahead and talk about it now because I think it is an interesting development.
Yeah,
especially considering that Michael Garcia was back in the leadoff spot today.
Well, Massey had the day off, so
yes, that he did. It was a righty heavy lineup for Quatrero today. But what did you think about Massey being in the leadoff?
So it's 3 games, very small sample size, 79 WRC plus. So it's not like he's suddenly Superman now that he's leading off. But and I would not have put Michael Massey lead off. I would not have done that. I think I've been pretty clear that Hunter Renfroe is my guy that I would like to lead off. I would, and if Massey's going to have a day off, then I would still prefer Renfroe lead off to Garcia, even though Garcia had a 2-3 hit day, something like that.
Yeah, he had a 2-hit day today.
Yeah, so he was fine today. What I've noticed watching Massey lead off the last 3 games, he led off the last game of the Cubs series, is it does feel like he has taken a change to his approach. He's not swinging as often. He's watching more pitches, and I'd have to check the numbers to see if that bears out. But he has, I think, 5 walks all season, and 2 of them have been since he started leading off. Plate approach, 8th inning of Monday night's game. What led is along with actually Adam Frazier's plate approach, and I'm not advocating for Adam Frazier to still be around by any means. Alongside that plate approach was what got Bobby to the plate for the grand slam. So I'm interested. I'm not going to sit here and say leadoff hitter thing is solved. Don't got to worry about it anymore. But I will say I do think this is an interesting move that is having interesting early returns. And I'm interested to see what happens with it.
Yeah, because
if it doesn't work, Hunter Renfroe is still on the team.
Yes, and he is still an option. I do think that Q is going to lean into that in his lefty-heavy lineups, where he would usually put Frazier there. Well, why not put Massey there? And I mean,
Frazier did absolutely nothing after being assigned to the leadoff spot to continue playing there. And honestly, the fact that Frazier is still on this team is a problem, but also something I think we're going to talk about more a little bit later.
Yeah, that we will. So I just want to run down some of the stats from today, because it was an amazing game from not only the top half of the lineup, but the bottom half of the lineup. This was really a team effort, even more so than a 10-3 score would tell you. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different Royals batters with 2 hits or more. Freddie Fermin, the designated hitter today, with a 4-hit, 3 RBI effort. That 2-run jack really kind of got the Royals the momentum, and they didn't look back from there.
Yeah, that home run was super important, because it did was when Brady Singer gave up 3 runs, meant that they were still tied.
Correct. Exactly.
And you never want to be behind if you can help it. Being tied is like, you would rather be in the lead, obviously, but being tied isn't so bad. Being behind, it's a little scary. It puts a little more pressure on you.
Exactly. And I will say this, the Royals were gifted several opportunities today thanks to some just terrible defensive plays from the Chicago White Sox. Like, if you go look at the box score, there's only 1 error, but go back and watch this game, and man, there were some bad looks in the outfield, especially.
Did you see on Tuesday, I believe, the post, I don't remember who said this, but there was kind of a scoop that the White Sox clubhouse was fractured, that Pedro Grifol, coming out of the All-Star break, announced to the team that if they were going to be one of the worst teams ever, it was going to be entirely on the players. I don't think he's wrong. But also, I don't think that's a productive thing to say. They looked, especially today and last night, like a team that just doesn't care anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel for that fan base. I really do. I joke about, beating up on the White Sox, and it is a rivalry that I enjoy the Royals being on the right side of right now. But I mean, Kansas City fans have been there recently, seeing bad baseball for an entire season, and it's not fun, and it just sucks. But this lineup really got it done. We got to see Paul DeYoung's it is DeYoung.
Yeah, sorry, you said DeYoung's and then stopped, and I'm like, it's just DeYoung. And then I realized, oh, it's the possessive. Okay.
Yes, it was his debut with the Royals today after walking across the hall yesterday ahead of the trade deadline, which we will talk about. Got on base a couple of times, so good stuff from him. Had a couple of good defensive plays as well.
He did.
Really enjoyed that.
He looked pretty good over there at third base, honestly.
He did, and I think this was only his 12th game at third base at the major league level. It's early initial returns on that are looking very positive.
Hey, and I asked for OBP, and he took a walk today. So
hey, there we go. Yeah, that was the talking point after the trade, was just like, he doesn't draw a lot of walks. It was like 14 walks to 130 some odd strikeouts. It was a bad ratio. And here he goes, and he gets a walk in his first AB with the Royals. Hey, look, we've already talked about the trade acquisitions. Let's go ahead and recap the trade deadline. But before we do, if you want more analysis on this, go check out royalsreview.com. Been some good articles up there about what the Royals did and did not do at the trade deadline. So, Jeremy, I'm going to run down each one of these moves.
Go for it.
You stop me if you if you think that we
I
need to
really
talk
would
about.
like takes fully formed, and I want
Okay.
to hear your takes before I give you
Ooh.
mine.
Okay, interesting. So, hey, do you have the list of moves pulled up that I dropped in the show notes?
Sure.
All right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Definitely did that.
Yep.
Which
Obviously.
which one of these links?
It's the top one.
The top one.
Listen, folks. We are a very well organized podcast, a well-oiled
Well,
machine,
Jacob is
you may
very well
say.
organized. I am factor of chaos, as
you
always.
you are the Jeremy. You
Like, I
are
know
the
about
Hakai.
the Royals trades.
Right, but like, hey, to be fair, forgot about Colin Selby getting traded.
I
So
don't
I
count
mean,
that. That's nonsense. That wasn't a deadline trade.
it was not. It was not.
All right.
Was it even in July? It might have been. I don't know. I can't remember.
It wasn't.
All right.
Yes, because they cut him, and so then they had to trade him.
Oh, that's right. All right, Jeremy, go ahead and run through these moves, and I'll give you my initial takes.
All right. So first deadline deal. Probably the first deadline deal of the season was they acquired right-handed pitcher Hunter Harvey from the Nationals for third base prospect Caden Wallace and the 39th pick in the MLB draft.
Listen, that move is still yet to bear fruit. In my opinion, he looked much better. What was it, Tuesday night?
Yeah.
That his pitch arsenal was playing up. He still got into a little bit of a jam, but he got out of it. I don't know. Jury's still out on it. The initial showing is not great, but still an improvement in the bullpen. So I like the trade. I still do.
Acquired right-handed pitcher Lucas Urseg from the A's for right-handed pitcher Will Klein, right-handed pitcher Mason Barnett, and outfielder Jared Dickey. Those are all prospects of one sort or another.
Well, Jeremy, I'm sad. Will's gone.
Yeah.
Will's gone.
Yeah, we had a personal connection to him because we had him on for interviews, but
yeah,
we knew this was a possibility.
I know. Listen, baseball is a business at the end of the day. I think that when you look at what other relievers were getting around the league, this was an absolute. I'm not going to call it an absolute steal, but I consider this a steal. All right, very controllable pitcher, and man, we saw him today in his Royals debut, and I got chills. I thought it was like, wow, this is what we really wished Carlos Hernandez would be, huh? Like,
Yeah.
this is what we thought he could be.
Yep.
And the initial showing is really good. That's a lot of prospects to give up. It is, but we talked about how weak this farm system is as a whole, and they didn't give up any of the core prospects for getting Urseg, so I like it.
So then they also got right-handed pitcher Michael Lorenzen, who I keep trying to call Drew Lorenzen, I think because I'm confusing him with Drew Pomeranz, because they both have N's and Z's in their name. Is a weird connection to make, but there you are. From the Rangers for left-handed pitcher Walter Pennington.
Okay, I do kind of want to rest on this one real quick and discuss it with you and hear your take.
Sure.
I like this trade. I know we haven't seen Lorenzen make his Royals debut yet, but the fact of the matter is all the actions by the Royals say that Walter Pennington was not in their plans, no matter how well he performed at AAA Omaha. So he was a pleasant surprise, but at the end of the day, those pleasant surprises, well, they have trade value. And if you're not going to use them, then you might as well go use them to get a guy that you will use. And we'll talk about the roster moves and stuff like that, but Michael Lorenzen will have an immediate chance to prove his value with the Kansas City Royals. I'm going to go farther than saying I like this trade. I love this trade.
Okay. And finally, because I am ignoring the Colin Selby trade because that is not a real trade, acquired shortstop Paul DeYoung from the White Sox for right-handed pitcher Gerald Rosado.
Yes, this is, listen, a 21-year-old right-handed pitcher in Low A, Colombia, and is not going to, just wasn't shaking up anything. Like, he wasn't really sniffing the top 30 prospects. I think Fangraphs had him in their like top 47, but that's about it. He's looking good, but at the end of the day, we needed to improve from the trio that we've talked about multiple times, Frazier, Hampson, and Lofton. I think they did that. And I think they did that notably. At the end of the day, all these trades not only shore up the team's floor in 2024, but I think considerably raise its ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because now we have a bullpen that looks like a wild card contending bullpen, and we have the guys that we can rely on. I mean, I'm sorry, like we saw Urseg and Bubic come out back to back today. I love it, man. I really do. So I am happy with this trade deadline. Not a lot of headline moves, but all these moves make sense. And at the end of the day, the Royals clearly did not mortgage the future to get any one of these players. Jeremy, what are your thoughts, sir?
All right, so I pretty much covered the like case by case basis. Mm-hmm. So I'm gonna try and give kind of a broader perspective because I think some of this is a little interlocking. You said Paul DeYoung, when I said Gerald Rosado, that
and we follow the team.
If I haven't heard of him, can't be that big of a deal. There are some things to like. Sure, he's a player who is in professional baseball has some traits to like, or they would not be in professional baseball. Okay, so but I've never heard of the guy that they trade. If I haven't heard of him, I don't care. There's lots of guys I've heard of in our farm system that I don't care about. Caden Wallace, don't care about him. Sorry. I know a lot of people love him. I know a lot of people were really excited about him. A lot of people wished he was already on the major league team. Yep. Strikeouts are too high. I don't care about him. Getting Hunter Harvey for him, good deal. I think Hunter Harvey and Lucas Urseg, and I said this on Twitter earlier, is going places, man. I'm about to have to get a Threads account, but that's a whole different thing.
Yeah, it is.
I think the sum of Urseg and Harvey is more than, or value of Urseg and Harvey is more than the sum of their parts in this bullpen. What I talked about on Sunday was I really wanted an OBP batter because I thought that the relievers they have aren't bad. They're not, but they just can't survive pressure situations. So I said, let's take some pressure off of them by scoring some more runs. Well, hadn't really thought about it, but another way to take pressure off of them, put the pressure situations on these two guys. And I tell you, I think watching Hunter Harvey Tuesday night was the Hunter Harvey, that is his name. Yes. I really lost my mind for a second. I was like, did I confuse him with Hunter Dozier or Matt Harvey? What have I done? Hunter Harvey, seeing him pitch Tuesday night, I think that is the real Hunter Harvey. I think we saw debut Hunter Harvey was a little nervous. And then I think we saw Sunday Hunter Harvey was hurt. He was hurting with the low back spasms.
Yep.
I think the Hunter Harvey we saw last night was the real deal. And yes, he gave up a run, but it was on 2 70-mile-an-hour singles.
Yeah.
Okay?
Unlucky singles.
Yeah. And he blew guys away, 2 strikeouts, and he got a weak ground ball for the third out.
Yep.
That'll work. I think
absolutely.
Lucas Urseg, like you said, Lucas Urseg, fantastic debut today. I think he's everything the Royals want. By the way, Lucas Urseg under control until 2030. So the Royals, if he's good, the Royals get to have him as long as he's good. As soon as he stops being good, they don't have to keep him either. That's the great thing about rookie contracts. Okay, so I think these guys are going to be huge, and you add them to a bullpen, which over the past couple of months has added Sam Long and has added Chris Bubic, who have both been phenomenal. Chris Bubic coming into today, before today's game, had a 1.59 FIP. He's got a strikeout rate of 10.57. That went up today. Sam Long, also a strikeout rate of 10.57, a FIP of 2.98. Long has I believe he has the third most WAR in the bullpen after Schreiber and Zerpa, and he's pitched half of the innings.
Wow.
Zerpa and Schreiber have WARs of 0.6. Long has 0.4. Meanwhile, Chris Bubic, with his 7 2/3 innings, had a 0.2 before today's appearance. Damn. Okay? So we've got 4 guys right now. 3 for sure. I was like iffy on him, and then I'm looking at his numbers, and I'm like, why am I iffy on him? He's been pretty damn good.
He has.
Excuse my language.
Has. How dare you? Jeez. We are a G-rated podcast.
So we've got 4 guys that we feel pretty good about right now. That means when John Schreiber comes back, he's got to force someone else off the roster. Will Smith, Chris Stratton. he's going to be not pitching. He's not going to be Johnny Leverage anymore. He's going to be pitching in the 6th inning or in a blowout game. Angel Zerpa's another guy, honestly, he had a rough patch, but he's rebounded from that, I think, and he was very good before that. And I still like his stuff, and I like his approach.
Yeah.
So they've got a bullpen. Like you said, they've got a playoff bullpen now. It's not HDH, but no bullpen is HDH, except for HDH. This is a good bullpen. And with a rotation that's got 3 guys that you're like, yeah, throw them out there against anybody. I'm good. And then 1 guy that you're like, all right, feel okay about this. Now, questions about their innings, especially as we get to the postseason. Questions about their innings, but also more time off in the postseason.
True.
So we'll see how this goes. Pitching feels pretty good.
It does.
One thing I wanted them to get, during this trade deadline, I'm allergic to my takes or something. My nose is all plugged up. The one thing I wanted them to get was an OBP hitter. They didn't get an OBP hitter, but the way they made these trades, the guys they got and what they gave up for them tells me that they were aggressive. Tells me they knew who they wanted and went out and got it. By the way, Lucas Erceg was one of my favorite relief pitcher targets. So to go and get him makes me very happy. Almost as happy as it made me unhappy to see Walter Pennington go. The Michael Lorenzen trade makes a lot of sense. As we've talked about, the innings pitched getting real high for these guys, not in terms of like total, but in terms of like how many innings they have pitched. So having a guy who can take some of that on, and they've announced today Lorenzen's role is he's going to be the 5th starter. Alec Marsh got demoted. He got pulled in when Erceg got added to the 25-man roster. And so he's going to take over as the 5th starter. And Marsh is going to sit in AAA to try and limit his innings. He's going to go 40 to 60 pitches, but try and stay stretched out enough, but also limit his innings. I think that makes a lot of sense. And Alec Marsh can be back for a playoff push or for a playoff run, hopefully. And it's good to have that backup if somebody gets hurt or if guys just, it's like, man, we got to give these guys an extra day or 2 off, Overall, it looks like they had a plan, and it looks like the OBP hitters were just too expensive. And that's the other great thing. Mason Barnett, the prospect that was traded out of this group, I love Mason Barnett. Heard a lot of good things about him. But as we like to say, 10 stop. There is no such thing as a pitching prospect.
And that's the truth. So, Jeremy, just succinctly, give me an A through F grade.
It was a B.
It was a B?
I think if they'd pulled in if they'd found a way to get that OBP hitter, I think I would have liked Winker for what was paid for Winker.
Yeah.
I would not have wanted Lane Thomas for what was paid for Lane Thomas. And the Angels didn't trade Rengifo or Ward, which makes me think they were asking for too much.
Yeah.
Somebody would have bought them if they weren't asking for too much. So, bought their contracts, excuse me. We're not dealing with slavery here. So the Winker deal didn't happen. I don't know if they just weren't in on him or, what they were looking for there. But other than that, glad that they didn't trade more. Like the rumor that a catching prospect, probably Carter Jensen, was the flagship for their offer for Jazz Chisholm. And I would have been disappointed if they traded Carter Jensen for Jazz Chisholm. I was not excited for Jazz Chisholm.
He's doing things in New York.
Carter, I know he's playing good, but I wasn't excited for him still. And maybe it'll end up like, man, Jensen turned into nothing, and Jazz Chisholm turned into a superstar once he was finally out of Miami. But I didn't like it. I was happy to not make that trade. Again, the Lucas Erceg trade was the one that cost the most. Jared Dickey was a guy, like a dark horse guy, I think is actually the term I'm looking for, that a lot of the prospect guys really liked, but there were some questions there, obviously, or else he would not be a dark horse. So I really good value, and without giving up anything that I'm really sad about. Mason Barnett and Jared Dickey, and I was sad about Will Klein, but I also wasn't I was sad about Will Klein for personal reasons, not for playing reasons.
Yeah, and so me personally, I would go just a step up and say a B plus for this. Just missing that, it would have been great to go out and get like a plug and play everyday leadoff guy that was the ideal scenario. And like truthfully, I don't think that outside of what Chisholm has done in New York so far and what Luis Arias has done so far with the Padres, I don't think that there was everyday guy.
And they were too expensive for what the Royals have. Like, the Royals could have gotten those guys, but it would have cost the entire top of their farm. And that's not, I mean, and Rosarena, same thing. And that's not what we were about here.
Sorry, I keep on forgetting about Rosarena.
Yeah.
There's one more trade deadline thing that I want to talk about before we move on.
Sure.
Because we do have to talk about the rest of the season, and we want to talk about a guy that we're in on, that a lot of other Royals talking heads are in on as well. How did you feel about the Royals being involved in so many of the headline deals leading up to the final days of the trade deadline?
Well, that's what gives me my confidence that the Royals were serious about this trade deadline, that they weren't, I mean, along with the moves that they did make, that they weren't, because we've heard before, oh, you were looking for trades and then they don't make any, or they make dumb trades, or they get bad returns. Like, these were good on their surface. These were good deals. Now, this could still be 2017. It's funny because I've compared this season to 2014. Matthew Lamar recently compared this team to 2003, saying that team started off really well and then faded. If it's not 2014, I still don't think it's 2003. What I'm worried about now, especially after this B+ trade deadline, is this 2017, which was the year that they went out and got Cahill and Buchter and the third reliever that they got, and just it blew up in their. Everyone was like, "Well, that's a pretty good deal," and it blew up in their faces. If this doesn't blow up in their faces, 2014. If it does blow up in their faces, 2017.
So let's. Before we talk about the prospect and before we talk about the rest of the season, I do want to talk about where the Royals are right now.
Yeah.
Because the Royals acted like a team who is in the standings, who's in the race. You know, everyone was talking about the Tampa Bay Rays, who, despite being over 500, sold at the trade deadline. Sold all the way through. They're still within 5 games of a wild card spot, and they still sold off most of their big pieces. But right now, the Royals, they have a 2.5 game lead in that third wild card spot. They're tied with the Twins for the second. I don't know, where we're starting to get some separation. And ultimately, I want to make sure I'm doing my math right here before I talk out of my ass. They're still 6 games back behind the Guardians.
Yeah.
Okay. This is a great spot to be in. It's much better. It's much better than 40 games back, like the Chicago White Sox are.
I do think there's an element, and this is not true of everyone out there, but I do think there's an element of some fans, and even we, to a degree, are spoiled by the 2014 and 2015 teams, because from the second half of 2014 through the World Series win of 2015, the Royals were the best team in baseball.
Yep.
No one was better than them for that year and a half span. And so they didn't have slumps, didn't have bad periods. Like, they were just good. They were just the best. And after years of having the worst team, you're like, oh, so this is what winning feels like. Well, yes, there's a middle ground between the worst team and the best team. And the version of the Royals is in that middle ground. And so I think that some people are having a hard time that you can be not the best team and also not the worst team.
You're absolutely right. We've only experienced one or the other. It is a wide chasm between them, and we are somewhere in that chasm right now.
And the good news is that with John Sherman, if he's going to continue running the team the way he has this year and last offseason, and JJ Piccolo is going to continue making decisions the way he has been, and the coaching staff is going to continue coaching guys up the way that they have been, could be used to a good team, sometimes maybe a great team. I mean, if Blake Mitchell and Jack Caglione come up and they're everything everybody ever hoped they could be, you're probably looking at a great team.
Probably so.
Or at least the core of one, and then you can build some pitching around them or something. But yeah, so we could be looking at a good team for a very long time. We may not have to look at that worst team, that 100 loss scenario, for quite some time.
And I know this is a silly mental exercise, but if the Royals win 3 more games this season, they could go 3 in whatever the heck it is, and they would still not have a 100-loss season. And that just goes to show how much better of a team this is. 11 games above 500. It's a good place to be.
Another thing is that let me check these standings projections again.
Oh yeah, I haven't even checked the postseason odds.
The postseason odds, I think, on Fangraphs still have the Royals around 40%. Okay. They are projected right now. Are you ready, Jacob?
I'm ready. Let's hear it.
They are projected to win 86 games.
Oh man,
30 games more than they won last year.
Wow.
And at the beginning of the year, they were projected to win 73, 76, somewhere in there.
Yeah, and those were the optimistic projections.
Yeah, that was, I don't know if there's a way for me to roll this back to whatever.
While you figure that out, Jeremy, I am going to take the wheel a little bit. And I want to talk about the remaining strength of schedule that the Royals do have, because we talk about what they have done so far. Well, they have a very, very tough road ahead. This is no easy sledding towards October right now. As of today, the Kansas City Royals have the second toughest remaining strength of schedule, only trailing the Tampa Bay Rays. Their opponent's average winning percentage is 52.7%. So on any given day, the Royals are going to be playing a playoff contending team. And it just goes to show they have 7 games against Cleveland, 3 against the Phillies, 3 against the Yankees, 6 against the Twins, 3 against Atlanta, and 3 against Boston. Those are just their toughest opponents. Okay, there's not a whole lot of room for error. And even if you look at some of the losing teams that they're facing, well, you got 7 games against the Detroit Tigers. The Royals have trouble against them. The Reds, the Giants, they were just in postseason contention. They are not terrible teams. And then you also have the Nationals and the Angels in there. This is going to be I think it's going to be a fight. This is going to be a boxing match. These Royals are going to have to punch their way into that wild card spot. Jeremy, did you figure it out?
No, I couldn't figure out how to see what the preseason projections were. I'm sure there's a way to do it, but I can't find it right now.
So while you pull it up, I'll give mine, because I'm looking over their remaining schedule. And before the show, I asked, okay, well, what is the August series to circle? And right now, I think that series has to be a 3-game set against the Minnesota Twins. Okay, because one that is on the road. We know the Royals are mostly going to take care of business at home. 36-22 at home. It is on the road where they do struggle quite a bit. And the Minnesota Twins, they didn't really add at the trade deadline at all. They didn't act like a team who was in the wild card standings. They're trusting what they got, and they're hoping that it works out down the stretch. So if you can go on the road, go into Minnesota, and take 2 out of 3 there, I'm going to feel so much better about this team, heading on to Cincinnati and then gearing up for it's like a 7-11. I mean, it is like a 3-week stretch against nothing but division leaders. It is going to be brutal. So I think that'll be a good bar. And also, by then, we're going to know where most of these other teams sit in the postseason race. So I'm circling that August 12th through the August 14th set in Minnesota. Are there, when you're looking over the schedule, anything stand out to you, Jeremy, in August?
Yep. That home series against the Red Sox. So I'm looking at the playoff standings. By the way, the Royals are currently 58.8% chance to make the playoffs, according to Fangraphs, which has been consistently the most pessimistic model for the Royals. I know, better than 50-50 odds. But the only team, you've got the Astros. So maybe the Astros series should be where I'm looking. But the Astros and the Red Sox are the only team really that's competing for a playoff spot now, that the Rays have sold off. The Tigers, some people are like, well, they could surprise you. I don't think so. They sold off. White Sox obviously aren't. Athletics, Angels obviously aren't. The Rangers feel like real long shots at this point. The Rays have that winning record, but they sold off. They decided they don't want to try. So that leaves the Red Sox and the Astros. So it's one of those two series. Astro series is going to be real tough because that's going to be on the road, and they're playing much better than when the Royals saw them the first time.
Yeah.
The Red Sox series is at home, and they are currently, the closest team to the Royals. The thing about the Astros, the Mariners, because they're flip-flopping in that division right now.
Oh, yeah, they are.
Is that the two teams are both still behind the Red Sox. Both teams are still behind the Red Sox. So to me, if you beat the Red Sox, you're probably good.
Yeah.
And beating the Red Sox, especially if the Royals could sweep that series, which is asking a lot, but if they could sweep that series, it would have that tiebreaker. Don't know what the second tiebreaker is. If they take 2 out of 3, then you'd have to go to the second tiebreaker. I don't know what that is, but that's kind of what we're looking at right now. Is the Red Sox are the scariest team to me. It's because the Astros and the Mariners also have to beat up on each other a lot.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a lot happening over there.
Yes, that it is.
By the way, while we're talking about it, I went ahead and pulled up that narrow path to 90 wins that Sub 76 wrote for us. Excellent time to check that as we're at the end of July. The overall record the Royals were targeting at the end of July was 61-49.
Okay.
They are 60-49, which means they are a half game off of their pace that they needed to be at. They're right where they want to be. They are right where they want to be.
That's okay to admit. I think it's kind of strange to admit that as a Royals fan. Like, this team is sitting
That's
good.
been kind of the wild. This is what I'm talking about when I say we're kind of spoiled from that 2014-2015 run when they were just so good. It's like they're following the plan to get to 90 or 89 or 80. I mean, like, if they get to 89 wins, are we going to say, oh, what a disappointment? 89 wins. 89 wins probably takes you to the postseason.
Yeah. I'll be happy. I'll be elated.
And that's what the plan has them on pace for. Now, everything could fall apart. This could be 2003 or it could be 2017. Everything could fall apart still. Honestly, Matthew Lamar, or I think it was Matthew Lamar, somebody pulled up the stat that the Royals are 500 against everyone who isn't the White Sox this year. Because they're 11 games over 500 and they're 11 games over 500 against the White Sox.
Damn it.
Of course, here's the great thing. The Fangraphs projection that says they're going to win 86, that projects them playing at 500 for the rest of the year. It says they'll go 27-27 for the rest of the year.
Hey, that ain't bad.
86 wins might get you to the postseason.
It might, especially when you look at like the Red Sox over the last 10, 3-7, the Astros 4-6. Like, everyone right now is playing middling ball.
Yeah, that's why. So the piece that's going to come out this weekend, I wish it had been able to come out sooner, but the trade deadline was like, no, there's no room for anything non-trade deadline right now. It's me kind of writing about the last homestand. We were all very disappointed that the Royals finished 5-4.
Yeah.
A winning homestand.
Dang it.
And I get it. They were 1-4 over those last 5 games.
Yeah.
1-4 over the last 5 because they won the first one against the Diamondbacks. So, and 3 of those losses were crushing losses. I get it. But also they gained 3 games, their nearest wild card contender over that span. Like,
yes, that they did.
It's okay. It wasn't actually that bad. And again, I'm just going to keep hammering this point, apparently. Like, we're a little bit spoiled.
Yeah.
Because, like, well, if this was the 2015 Royals, they would have gone 6-3 or 7-2 on that homestand. And that's true. But it's not. And that's okay.
Jeremy, do you see what I'm dealing with over here?
I do see what you're dealing with over there. Seems awful.
It's just terrible, you know.
It's so bad to be loved so much.
But this dang dog crawled under my desk and just propelled herself up between my legs to get my attention. Oh goodness, listen, she just wants all my undivided attention, but we cannot do that right now because we have one more thing to talk about.
Yep.
And it is just like folks are admitting, hey, like, I apologize to Hunter Renfroe. Hey, I apologize to so-and-so for doubting them or thinking they were dead in the water. I gave up earlier this season on Royals top 10 prospect Tyler Gentry.
You're not the only one.
I'm glad to hear that, but I owe him an apology. I really do. I had written him off. He was nowhere near this outfield competition that the Royals should be having right now. I don't know if they are internally having that, but they should be having it. And lo and behold, he has brought his name back into the big league attention span, if you will. Jeremy, you brought this up. So, sir, the floor is yours. Why the hell should we care about the Alabama prospect?
So here's the thing. Tyler Gentry was a top prospect. He had a very poor start to the year. His current season line is 261, 352, 435 for a respectable 787 OPS or a 105 WRC plus down in Omaha. His strikeout rate is still high, 30.1%. His walk rate is pretty also high, 11.7%. And he's showing off more power this year than he did last year in Omaha. Who had, let me see if I can follow this link. You had his stats since June. So let's talk about his stats since June that got into that season line, because I think that's kind of important. And what you see there is still that 11% walk rate, but that strikeout rate comes all the way down to 26.6%. Still,
that's a big difference.
Higher than you want, but the 5% drop. I mean, that's something. And then you also see a batting average of 333, an OBP of 410, a slug of 549, good for an OPS of 959, and a 148 WRC plus. And that's over a 2-month span.
Yeah.
Right?
This isn't small sample size.
Tyler Gentry, he's a top prospect. He was at Omaha last year. That means he's about as ready as he's going to get.
Yeah.
And
he really is.
Here's the thing about the Royals right now. They didn't go get an OBP guy, though we're trying Michael Massey in leadoff, which, again, I think is an interesting experiment worth trying. We've still got Hunter Renfroe that I think can lead off if the Massey experiment fails. But we've been DHing Freddie Fermin more, which is good.
Yes.
I like that.
That's good.
But we've also got Adam Frazier still in the roster, which means we have 3 backup middle infielders on the roster. Do we need 3 backup middle infielders, especially one who has been worth negative 0.7 FWAR in limited playing time this year? I don't think we do.
Not great, Bob.
We need that. So my proposal is fine. We're going to try these 2 guys, or we're going to try Massey at leadoff. They've given no indication that they're going to try Renfroe at leadoff, no matter how many times I scream about it. But we're going to try Massey at leadoff. Fine. You solved your leadoff problem. Now you've got a middle of the order problem.
Yeah.
Can we cut Adam Frazier? Let's bring up Tyler Gentry, because Freddie Fermin cannot DH every day.
No, he can't.
Got to give him some days off. Salvi's got to DH some days, and Means got to catch. And it's scary to have your catcher in there your backup catcher in there as a DH, because your Salvi goes down with an injury, you've lost your DH.
Yeah, very true.
So I would like to see Adam Frazier get cut, and let's bring up Tyler Gentry, and let's give him 2, 3, 4 starts a week, outfield DH. Rotating everybody around like you do. Let's see what happens, and maybe he helps with your lower middle of the order problem.
Maybe so.
I 6 or 7 hitter
that working. I could absolutely see that working, and it's his profile fits there. Like he's not going to be your cleanup guy. He's going to be the guy who comes in and keeps the line moving. I don't have all of his AAA numbers pulled up in front of me, but I don't believe he's had any play as a leadoff man in Omaha. I don't think that has been his calling card or what has been desired of him with the Storm Chasers.
Batting order in minor leagues, so I don't know.
Yeah, listen, we gotta work with what we got. Actually, you know what? I'm looking at
the
right now.
The strikeout rate plays really high for a guy that you would ask to lead off.
Absolutely, and according to MILB.com, he has not batted first at all this year. He's been primarily batting 4th, or actually batting 7th has been where he's been sitting at for most of the season. So I think that's a good spot for him. He is absolutely red hot right now, and the Royals, they just have a handful of guys that aren't hot at all.
Adam Frazier does not offer you power. He does not offer you the ability to walk. He does offer you the ability to get hit by the occasional pitch, but
yeah,
I don't know how repeatable that is.
I don't think it
he
is.
does not offer you good defense. He does not offer you good base running. Gentry, according to Fangraphs, comes in at a 50 fielding, which is
good.
That's average. Projects to a 55. He comes in at a 50 speed average, but like Frazier is below average. I know everyone's like, well, he's a middle infielder. He has a below average runner. Hunter Renfroe is faster than Adam Frazier.
It's crazy to think.
Okay,
because Hunter Renfroe is so much bigger.
Right. He brings a below average hit tool and an above average power tool. Fine. Let's see what he can do.
Yeah.
He literally, by the definition of WAR, wins above replacement. That means that's the amount of wins you expect this player to add to your roster above any minor leaguer you might promote. Frazier is below that. He has a negative 0.7. Anybody you promote from the minor leagues, you would expect to be better than Adam Frazier.
So why not just make the move? And I'm sure money might be playing into it. I'm sure clubhouse. It's
Gentry's going to make the league minimum, and they've already paid Adam Frazier. Don't fall into the sunk cost fallacy.
But it's sunken. It's hard not to fall into.
It's already gone. You can't get it back. No matter how many at-bats you give, all you can do is make your team less valuable.
Okay. See, there you go.
You sell fewer tickets, more at-bats you give Adam Frazier.
Very true. And I think that Tyler Gentry would be a great guy to see 2, 3, 4 times maybe in the outfield every single week. I think he fits there well. And honestly, there are worse things that I can think of for this team right now than platooning MJ Melendez and Tyler Gentry.
Yeah, right now they're like, okay, well, we don't want MJ to bat versus lefties, which I don't blame them. So you need a righty. Well, who's Dairon Blanco or Garrett Hampson?
Mm-hmm.
I would rather see that opportunity go to Tyler Gentry. I don't want Garrett Hampson starting. I want Garrett Hampson coming in as a defensive replacement after you've pinch run or pinch hit. I love Dairon Blanco. I don't really want him starting in the outfield, and I don't think the Royals want him starting in the outfield. That's why they've given Hampson and Frazier so many starts in the outfield. Yeah. So fine, you don't want him to start the outfield. The other two don't belong out there. Try Tyler Gentry. We've passed the trade deadline. No one is taking Adam Frazier off your hands. You're not going to be able to add someone else to your 40-man roster that you were like, okay, well, now let's go ahead and cut Frazier so that we can fit them onto the 26-man and the 40-man. Oh, you just cut the safety line.
Okay.
And let's try something different.
Okay. I think that's a great idea. I really, really do. And is this going to be in your piece at all, Jeremy, for Saturday? You talking about it at all?
No, just the stuff Saturday is about the zooming out and the expectation stuff.
Okay, I like it. Well, hey, make sure y'all go over to royalsreview.com. You can bookmark it, whatever the hell it is, that make sure that you go and visit there every single day, because there is something new every single day up on royalsreview.com. And you should be reading there every single freaking day. Jeremy, that's all I got for the show tonight. Is there anything else that I'm forgetting?
I just want to talk about one underappreciated Royal just real quick. There's just one guy I don't think has been getting enough love recently.
Okay.
Let me pull up this.
It's just like an unknown guy.
Yeah, just a guy.
I think we've talked about everyone on the podcast.
So there's this guy who let me see if I can find this. Where is
you're really digging deep? Like this guy's on the 26-man roster.
Screw it, I can't find it. Here's the stat I'll give you.
Okay.
Batters batting the best batting averages in an entire month for in any month of a season. Number 1, Todd Helton, Hall of Famer. He hit 512 in May 2000.
Man.
Number 2, Ivan Rodriguez hit 500 in June 2004.
Pudge ain't bad.
Number 3, these are all Hall of Famers. George Brett, July 1980, batted 494. That was the year he almost batted 400. You know who's number 4, Jacob?
Is it this unknown guy that
Bobby
you keep
Witt
talking about?
Jr. batting .489 in July 2024. Batting .489. Half the time he came to the plate, he got a hit.
And he walked a couple of times too.
Yes.
We love
his
that.
OBP was over 500. Yep. So more than half the time he came to the plate, he got on base. 2 hits and 2 walks today.
I think that's pretty valuable,
I think he struck out 3 times the entire month of July.
He wasn't chasing pitches.
No. He had more extra base hits than swings and misses.
Goodness. See? I think that's a pretty valuable player right there.
Could he be the most valuable player?
Well, I think if we got some of the New York bias out of our media sphere, I think he might just be a player who has the most value. And maybe let's shrink down the player pool. Maybe the American League? No, he's the most valuable player in the AL Central.
He struck out 7 times this month. Damn. He had 7 home runs, 8 doubles, 1 triple. Struck out 7 times.
And that's why they call him Bobby
When
Baseball.
you find a guy who can hit as many home runs as he strikes out, that's almost always going to be a good time.
Yeah, I think that's a good.
If he's not hitting a lot of home runs, he's also never striking out.
I'll take it.
And if he strikes out 50 times in a month, but he hits 50 home runs in a month, not possible, but if he did, okay, that's pretty good too.
That is fairly valuable. Yeah, listen, we didn't make it the headline thing because everyone and their brother is going to be talking about how amazing Bobby Witt Jr. has been this month. And he deserves all the laurels, all the praise, all the accolades.
20 before today, because they don't have that up on the game day stats right now.
Right.
Before today's game, he played in 22 games.
Okay.
He scored 23 runs and had 22 RBIs.
What?
He scored more runs than games played in July.
What the hell?
And he had more runs and more RBIs today. He scored at least twice. I can't remember if he actually had an RBI now that I think about it.
What are we supposed to do? I
got to tell you, this is what everybody's been talking about watching the team across the parking lot. You just got to enjoy this. You got to drink it all in. This is a guy that your grandchildren, if you have them, I'm not going to have any. Somebody else's grandchildren.
Someone else. Yeah.
Ask me, who's this Bobby Witt Jr. guy he's got this Hall of Fame plaque. He's got this statue at the downtown Royals Stadium in Kansas City. Who is this guy? Well, let me tell you, we knew Bobby Witt Jr. was going to be special the first day he played in the big leagues.
What other player gets a standing ovation before they take their first AB?
Shohei Ohtani.
It was him and Vinny. I remember that in Kaufman.
Yep.
Oh, man, what a time to be a Royals fan, folks. I'm going to say it one more time, Jeremy. We are spoiled.
What a time to be a Kansas City sports fan. We are spoiled beyond belief. Our time in the wilderness is not for nothing. Okay?
Yeah,
we have
the
best football player who ever lived, probably. There might be a better one in the future. There hasn't been one yet. And one of the best baseball players who's ever lived, the best baseball player in baseball in 2024. There is no one better. Not until Shohei Ohtani pitches again next year, at least.
We are so very, very lucky. We really are. Jeremy, man, that's a great way to end the show, but we do have some Royals reviews to get through. It's very hard hitting stuff here. Okay. So, don't change your dial. Don't skip on to the next thing, because I'm here to talk to you today about a travesty that is spreading through grocery store shelves throughout the nation. This is something impacting every one of our lives. It is a sign of what people call shrinkflation. It is the pandemic that is mini bagels. All right. Honey swears by them. Okay. She buys they come in bags. Okay. They're not all like neatly lined up like a loaf of bread or nothing. They're just in there like a bag of chips. It's very disturbing, and I don't like it. It's like a Ritz cracker of bagels. That's it. It's a vessel to carry one thing into your mouth. I don't like mini bagels. I don't.
What about pizza bagel?
It's been years since I've had pizza bagels.
When pizza's on a bagel, you can eat pizza anytime.
Yeah. Okay. I would crush some pizza bagels back in the day. I really, really would. But I don't want cinnamon raisin mini bagels. Okay. I don't want cinnamon raisin pizzas. Little personal bagels. No. Not my speed. If you like mini bagels, good for you. I am taking a stand, Jeremy. I will not be buying any more mini bagels. I am boycotting them.
I won't make.
It's important, Jeremy. I'm boycotting them. Make me feel valuable. I'm boycotting them. Sorry.
Yeah, you. I didn't honestly realize people still sold mini bagels.
I didn't know it until Honey started buying them. But
I think that mini bagels have a value, because what if you don't want a whole bagel?
When wouldn't you want a whole bagel?
Like, people try to lose weight, or they're just not hungry. They just want a little snack.
That is a fair point. But then just have a half a bagel.
But then the other half goes stale. It does. My bagels go stale when I look at them funny. It's before I cut them in half.
You got me there, Jeremy. But maybe just have an appetite for a full bagel or nothing. God, jeez. Jeremy, on to you.
I found the stats I was looking for, by the way.
Oh, okay. All right, what's up? What you got?
This was actually DB Lesky pointed these out, David Lesky.
Okay.
489, 520, 833. That, for you playing at home, is a 1353 OPS. Pretty good. I mean, that slugging alone would be a good OPS.
Yes, it would.
And then you had the 520 OBP, 44 hits, 8 doubles, 1 triple, 7 home runs, 24 runs, 22 RBIs in 23 games.
Goodness. Well, on to August, Bobby. What you got in the tank now, huh?
I'm just sitting here wondering, can the same player be the Lightning Player of the Month twice in 1 year for MLB The Show? Because who the heck deserves it more than Bobby?
I can't think of anyone.
All right, so my review this week is liquid bandages. Liquid bandages are amazing. If you cut your finger, which I did, I was searching for a Blu-ray and I was digging through a bag of stuff, and something cut my finger pretty good, and I still don't know what it was. I'm scared to go look in the bag again. And you put a Band-Aid on your finger, you're using your finger, you're doing all the Band-Aid's like, I'm coming off, and you're like, no, Band-Aid, I need you to protect my finger. And the Band-Aid's like, no. So then you get a liquid bandage, and then the liquid bandage goes on, you just paint it on your finger, the little paintbrush, and then boom, your finger's covered. You don't have, like, I don't know about you, but when I cover something with a Band-Aid for too long, like, it gets all sweaty and it's like, I hate that feeling.
Yeah.
And so, like, with a liquid bandage, you're just covering the cut. You don't have to cover the rest of your finger. Beautiful. And it's flexible. So, like, you're using your hands or your finger. It's really good for your hands, anywhere on your hands, because your hands, like, you're always doing stuff with your hands. And so it's flexible. It sticks with you. It's waterproof. And also, like, my finger, I'm not showing you the cut right now, but I could use my fingertip again. And I got all these touch screens. I need my fingertip.
That is true.
So liquid bandages, like the future, baby. The future is 30 years ago, but the future is also now.
Flying cars, jumbo bagels, liquid bandages, the future. Man, thank you for that, Jeremy. I do appreciate that hard-hitting analysis on the world of bandages. Because honestly, you're right. It's so damn inconvenient having any sort of Band-Aid on your fingers.
Yeah, you're like, oh, I got a cut on my arm. Yeah, you slap a Band-Aid on that. That's fine. Your arm's not doing anything.
No.
I got the liquid bandage actually a year ago when I cut my knuckle. No, you can't put a bandage on a knuckle.
No.
Liquid bandage.
Put that.
You're good.
See? Hell yeah. I like it.
And also,
right, Jeremy.
Doesn't rip your hairs out when you remove it.
That's true.
Because all you got to do to take liquid bandage off is apply a little bit more liquid bandage to it, and that, like, melts the liquid bandage that's on your hand, and you just wipe it off, and you're good.
Yeah. and you still have all your hair on your knuckles because that
or on the tips of your fingers, apparently, as I'm dealing with.
Jeremy, I think if you have hairs on the very tips of your fingers, you might want to get that checked out. Okay, alrighty. Well, that is going to do it for Jacob Milham and the resident werewolf, Jeremy Greco. Listen, the folks who make this podcast happen are over at RoyalsReview.com. Thank you so much for letting us be this ridiculous and talk about Kansas City Royals baseball. For all of our listeners in Brazil, thank you very much for your service.
And everywhere else. We appreciate our fans everywhere.
No,
you just made us number one in Brazil, and we don't understand it, but we love you.
Yes, I have many questions. I do. But I'm not going to ask them because
do we need to learn Portuguese, Jacob?
Maybe is that the next step? Is that what we've been missing in the podcast game this whole time?
I barely speak English.
Yeah, true that. Whew. But yeah, no, for all of our listeners out there, thank you for joining us on this wild ride. Jeremy, thank you for joining me on it. This is always a good way to re-energize at the middle of the work week. If you want to follow along with more of our foolishness, you can do that over on social media, on Twitter primarily, or as Jeremy has alluded to, we might be moving to Threads.
Nope, I'm not doing it. Moving on.
I laid the trap for you, and you didn't go for it. Good job.
I almost did.
I know you did. All right, we're going to go and get on out of here.
I checked in time. No swing.
No swing. All right, we're going to get out of here. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, folks. And until next time, go Royals.